Hey guys, this is John Audible. Today it's called Saturday's Message um, for you on YouTube. Um, that's what the Facebook group I used to do a video there. A lot of you may recognize me or know me. Um, we did a message every Saturday. This Saturday, um, what I'd like to talk about, and usually I address every Saturday, I address problems. What I'd like to address today is the seventh, eighth, ninth, 10th month, 11th month, 12th month. Right along there, people with relapsing, remitting experience some very hard days. The hard days are incredibly hard. I've often said, and I will say this again, getting sick was hard, getting well may be harder. And it's not really, but you think it is. Um, Honestly, if you didn't have somebody to tell you that it gets better, you'd probably think, I'm doing something wrong. Does this work? I'm ready to quit. That's the way the Coimbra protocol is that generally in the latter months, um, when I say the latter months, I mean not when you just start out, but month 10th, 11th, 12th, you can have some really hard days. And I will be interviewing people on this channel coming up that have been through the protocol. And one person in particular, Jerry Kraft, I'll use his name. Um, Jerry was having a hard time. And I remember calling him up. He lives in Canada. And I called him up, and he looked like he'd been hit by a freight train. He just, his face, his countenance was down. Um, he just looked rough. And you called Jerry today and talked to him. I talked to him a couple weeks ago, and I swear you need a crowbar to get the small off his face because you have what we call aha moments, and it's just where you get 2, 3 months along, and you'll go, "Oh my gosh, I don't do that anymore. Oh my gosh, I'm better. Oh my god!" You just have that moment where all of a sudden you realize, "Man, I'm so much better now." Typically, when you start feeling better at first, it's almost euphoric because um, you can have days where you're like, I'm ready to quit, and then 2 days later you'll be like, wow, you feel like you're just drinking espresso. You feel so good. Now that can last, or it can go away and then come back real fast and go away. But generally, when you feel like that, you're on the downhill slope, so to speak. Um, so that's what I wanted to address today was just the hard days come up around that time. Now, people like myself, um, I had hard days for a long time, longer than a year and a half. And when I say hard days, they weren't as hard as back around 6 or 7 months, but they were still. I was fatigued and tired, and I was like, man, when is this going to be over with? Because at first, when I started out, I felt really good. Now, um, I went up and then I went down and I stayed down. Some people go up and down like a roller coaster, and you know, after a year, they're fine. If you have relapsing remitting, depending on the type of MS you have and how long you've had it, um, you can go up and down on the protocol for the first year. People with primary progressive MS, Dr. Coimbra has said that it takes longer, and I believe that's what I had, and I think that's a testimony to it. Um, that I had primary progressive, and I'm a male. We see that in men for some reason, even if you have relapsing remitting, that in men it takes longer for the healing process to take place. Um, but definitely everyone with primary progressive, it just seems that it takes longer. Now, I changing gears here. Um, I have started this YouTube page, and we will be doing every Saturday. Ask the Doctor with Doctor Michael or Miguel Tomas, and I would like you to submit the questions to me. You can do it via Facebook; would probably be easier. Facebook Messenger or Facebook, the Coimbra Protocol North America page. Um, that would probably be the best way to give us. We would prefer the questions not be, "Can I sprinkle cheese on my salad?" Those type of questions you can have answered on the page, the Coimbra Protocol North America page. We would prefer it to be more like, you know, uh, when do the spasms start not being so bad? Um, just, I don't know, just questions that go along with the protocol, but not so much diet because diet is not a huge part of the Coimbra protocol. Now, I know maybe you've been on George Jelinek Overcoming MS protocol, or you've been on the Walls protocol, and those deal a lot with diet. And I believe wholeheartedly in a good diet. I think that is essential to the healing process. But in the Coimbra protocol, we only monitor calcium intake, really. Um, I mean, that's the only thing that is really critical because we drink a lot of water, 2.5 liters of water a day, and we have a low calcium diet, which means we cut out all dairy and any high calcium foods, and therefore we don't have a buildup of calcium in our bloodstreams. And I'm poster boy for this being okay. I've done this for 3 years and 7 months, and I've taken vitamin D every day. Um, at about 3 years, my disease stopped, or maybe 2 years and 6 months. And people may say, "Well, how do you know it stopped?" You know, if you've had MS for a long time and you've had any symptoms, I've had no symptoms of MS for I want to say 2 years or a year and a half. Um, Now, do I have disabilities that I incurred from having MS for so long and so many times misdiagnosed? I've been to the doctor numerous times, and they always explained it away as something else. And by the time they figured out that I had MS, my disease had already started progressing. So unfortunately, I found out later. Um, but I'm not upset about that because there are people that if they never find out will just get worse and worse and worse and worse and end up in a nursing home and in a bed all their life. And they exist, they just exist. And I'm grateful to God that I found this protocol, and I'm doing well. Anyway, people, I apologize to you. If you've ever dealt with anybody with ADD or ADHD, you're seeing it in action here today, because people with that condition, we laugh and say when a squirrel runs by, we're like, "Oh, look, squirrel," and we change the subject. And that's the way somebody with this condition is. We see something in our minds, and then we immediately start thinking about that and talking about that. It's hard for us to stay on point. I read novels, not very often, but I've read novels, and I'll pick them up, put them down for a month after reading the first 80 pages. I mean, it's hard for us to stay on task. So this morning, changing the subject, this morning somebody was saying how expensive a doctor was, and really, by U.S. standards, they're not. very expensive at all. But in other parts of the world, it's a lot of money. So what I would like to do later on is we're going to hopefully set up a nonprofit to help people that want to do the protocol because the protocol is relatively inexpensive. I spend about $1,000 a year, and what's medicine? 50, $60,000 a month, and 30% effective at slowing the rate of progression. It's not a cure. So, but people take it because they want hope, and that's what this whole page is derived from. Is I didn't have any hope, and I thought my life was over with, and little did I know after 2 years of misery and suffering that I think my life has just begun. And I told my wife this morning, I said, if I didn't have these disabilities, um, I feel better today than I've ever felt in my life. And that's the honest truth. And, people want to know if the protocol works and, you know, um, how do you do it and all this. Just stay on the page, uh, research, research, research. The protocol is good for all autoimmune diseases. So not only MS, but myasthenia gravis, Crohn's, lupus, uh, rheumatoid arthritis. It's been successful with children with autism. So there are a lot of benefits from the protocol. You got to be careful. You have to use a doctor. You have to use a protocol trained doctor. I don't give medical advice. None of this that I ever say will be um, medical advice. You need to talk to your doctor and get all your medical advice from them because it's like I've always said, you don't know who you're talking to when you go out onto the internet and Facebook and YouTube and all these pages. They may seem very intelligent. They may say very intelligent things, but you don't know that person. And they may know one area, but another area they may be really dangerous. So you need to get all your information from a doctor. So anyway, today is just about staying the course. Tell your friends about this page, please. Um, if you like the video, please like and share or subscribe to the page. Um, we want to help a lot of people. I'm not getting rich doing this, and I don't plan on getting rich because when I got diagnosed, I had a little girl that was 12. And I thought, my goodness, I will never walk her down the aisle. And then I started laying in bed and feeling really bad and um, having some really bad symptoms, some terrible times. And I thought, forget walking her down the aisle. I hope that I'm alive to see her get married because I thought I'd probably die. And when I started feeling better on that Coimbra protocol, I wanted to scream my lungs out. I was so happy. And I wanted to tell the whole world because I was like, you know, maybe some father somewhere, some mother is like, I'll never even see my grandchildren, or my life is over. They may have been like me and think their life is over, but your life isn't. The Coimbra Protocol can help a lot of people. It works, you know, try to prove me wrong. That's all I say is try it. Don't get to the point where that's it. A lot of people do. I did. But do it while you're still functional and walking and stop your disease now. The Coimbra Protocol stops your disease. It is not a cure, but it stops the disease from progressing. Whatever's happened has happened. You may have scar tissue, but um, the protocol will halt your disease. All right, I'm going to do a whole bunch of interviews, people. So if you know somebody that's done the protocol, or if you are somebody that's done the protocol and you've gotten better, I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to interview you. I'm going to set up Zoom this week and start interviewing people. Interview Denise Meadows, Robin Bart, Anna Claudia Domine, Christina Keating, um, Jennifer Butler, hopefully, Chrissy All, maybe some names you're familiar with if you've done the protocol and you've been on the Facebook North American group, or if you've read over vitamin D and lots of it. I hope to interview, Miguel Demas is going to definitely on board to do Ask the Doctor every Saturday. I hope to interview Dr. Michael Hollick, who's the foremost authority on vitamin D in the United States. Um, I hope to interview him. I hope to interview um, Dr. Coimbra. I hope to interview Dr. Wonderly and Luciana Campos in South America, if you know them. There's a lot of people. I hope to interview Yar Wanderlust. Uh, there are just a lot of people out there that if you're watching this at all or you've heard about this in any way, I want to hear from you. Okay? All right. This has been a long Saturday's message, a long message period. If you've stayed with me till the end, then thank you. And we hope to be putting things on the page every few days. Every Saturday, definitely, we'll be doing something. But we'll be doing interviews and updates from time to time. So make sure you subscribe to the page. Okay? Take care.